So you travel to India on an e-visa and now you're looking to extend your stay in India. Basically, you want to continue staying in India without having to exit and come back. So how do you do that? Let's figure it out. So in this video, we'll try to answer some commonly asked questions, including can e-visa be extended or converted to another visa? And what are some options to stay in India longer on e-visa? What if your e-visa expires and you want to stay in India longer? That's when we get into the entry visa or XVisa and how it works and who is eligible to apply for XVisa. We'll discuss the complete process of converting your e-visa to XVisa from India from the eFRRO portal. And finally, we'll also discuss in brief the possibility of applying for OCI from India. So just a basic refresher on e-visa first before we get into that. See, an e-visa is a multiple entry temporary tourist visa that allows a foreign national to travel to and stay in India for a maximum of 180 days in a 1 year period. This authorized stay period could be 30 days or 180 days depending on what you applied for when you did your e-visa application online. This is my son's e-visa, and as you can see, it's valid for 1 year. But as it says here, once you enter India, you're allowed to stay in India continuously for a maximum of 180 days in one visit in 1 calendar year. So before your 180 days of continuous stay, you have to exit India. Your e-visa is still valid and you can re-enter on the same e-visa. You don't have to apply again. You just can't stay past the 180-day mark continuously. So you exit India after your 180 days, meaning before your 180 days are over, and then you just re-enter India on your same e-visa, and then you can stay for the remaining days of that 1 year validity period. And you're probably wondering, you are also not allowed to convert your e-visa into your OCI while you're in India and continue to stay longer. As it says here on the official e-visa page, e-visa is non-extendable, non-convertible. So say you applied for an e-visa from outside India for yourself or for your newborn infant, which is what I did, and you came to India. Now you're coming up on your 180-day maximum allowed stay period, but for some reason you decide you have to stay longer. What options do you have? So the first and the least hassle option, in my opinion, is before the expiry of your 180-day period, just leave India for a short trip and come back. You could take a super short trip to neighboring countries such as Nepal or Sri Lanka, or if you're feeling fancy and want to do some shopping, you could also go to Dubai. Visa for these countries is pretty easy. It's either going to be on arrival or super easy to obtain depending on your country of nationality and what other visa stamps you have on your passport. Once you get there, you can even fly back to India the same day on your current e-visa. Most people have the multiple entry 1 year validity e-visa. So when you come back to India, you can re-enter on the same e-visa that you initially came on without having to reapply. Or in the event that your e-visa was for a shorter duration and is coming up on its expiry, then you can just leave before it expires, apply again from outside India. You should get it in 24 to 48 hours and then come back on a new e-visa, and then you can again continue to stay for 180 days straight. So say you're coming up on your 180 days of your e-visa, but at this point you don't want to leave India or you're not in a condition to leave India. In that case, you can extend your stay in India by converting your e-visa into entry visa, which is also known as XVisa. So XVisa is a longer term entry visa which is normally meant to be applied from outside India, usually meant for non-tourism purposes such as family reunification. It's specifically meant for foreign nationals who either themselves are of Indian origin or are immediate family members of people of Indian origin. For example, if you have a child who's born in Canada, Canadian citizen by birth, but you, the parents, are Indian nationals, meaning you still hold your Indian passport or were Indian nationals at some point and are now naturalized citizens of Canada and hold OCI cards, then your child is considered a person of Indian origin and therefore becomes eligible to apply for XVisa. Same goes if you are a foreign national, say Filipino with no history with India, but you are married to an Indian citizen or an OCI holder, meaning ex-Indian, that also makes you eligible to apply for XVisa to travel to India. Now, I'll explain how you can apply for XVisa from India, but you must meet these eligibility conditions in order to be eligible for XVisa, whether you want to apply from outside India or inside India. And if you're outside India at this point and thinking of traveling to India and thinking of applying for e-visa, as long as you meet the eligibility conditions for XVisa, Applying for XVisa instead of eVisa will have its obvious advantages. eVisa is a shorter duration visa that is usually valid for 1 year and cannot be extended. XVisa, on the other hand, is a longer duration visa, usually valid for 5 years, and it can be extended. Unlike eVisa, in which you cannot extend your stay beyond 180 days, stay on XVisa can be extended by registering with eFRRO and applying for the extension. And finally, you cannot apply for OCI on eVisa, but you can apply for OCI on XVisa. So that brings us to the main question at hand. Can you convert your eVisa into XVisa while you are in India so that you don't have to leave India and come back? The answer is yes, you can, as long as you meet the eligibility conditions for XVisa that we just talked about. So the first step in the conversion process is to create an account in the eFRRO portal. This is where you will apply for immigration services such as FRRO registration, visa conversion, extension, new application, etc. Now, as you can see, this is their old portal. This has been around for a while, so you can trust this. But as you can see, they do have a new portal too, which you can use to do your application also. They're pretty similar to each other. The new portal is just a bit fancier and more user-friendly. Otherwise, there is no difference in the way they work, and you can use either one of them. So here you'll first create an account. So click on new user. Then in this registration form, enter your email ID and mobile number if you want, or you can just leave it at email ID. You just need one of those to receive the OTP. Then last name, first name of the applicant, their date of birth, gender and nationality. So if you are the one who's applying for yourself, meaning you are applying to convert your own eVisa into XVisa as an adult, then these obviously will be your details. If, however, you're doing this for your family member, say your infant who you brought from abroad to India, then you will fill their details, the child's details here. So child's name, date of birth, gender and nationality. Then enter the code exactly as it's shown here. It's case sensitive, and then submit. Once you do, you'll receive an activation email with OTP. So just enter that and sign on using the email and password you just created. Once inside your account, you'll see a bunch of options. So first, your focus should be here, fresh online application submission. You'll get a pop-up right away that says that children below the age of 12 are exempted from FRRO registration. So we'll get to that in a second, but first hit OK and then select the nationality of the applicant again, say Canada. Then first name, last name, gender, again, all these details of the applicant, the adult or the child who is converting their eVisa to XVisa. Then FRRO state. So these foreigners registration offices are usually located in major metropolitan cities in India. So if you live in one of these cities, you can select your location here. But don't worry if your city does not have an FRRO office. That's okay. The DSP in your area can also act as a foreigner's registration officer. I'll explain more on that when we get to that section. But for now, just enter your city and state in India where you are currently residing, whatever that city and state might be. So who needs to register with the FRRO? So now if you're an adult in India on eVisa, and you're looking to get any kind of visa or immigration related service, you will be required to register with the FRRO. Only then can you apply for any other immigration service from India. And ideally, you should be registering yourself within 2 weeks of your entry in India. So if you're applying for an adult, then you must select this registration option and then any other services that you need. You can apply for multiple services at a time. And if you're doing this for a child under 12 years of age, then you don't need to select this registration option. You can straight up select the visa service and apply for that. Which brings us to the conversion part. So now you'll select this conversion type option, then select visa because you want to convert your e-visa to entry visa. So you are basically doing a visa conversion. This entry conversion means you want to convert your single entry into double entry or double entry into multiple entry. That is what this entry conversion means. So if you're not doing that, we're actually trying to convert e-visa into XVisa. That's why you will select visa conversion here. Then down here under category, so if you're doing this conversion for your infant, and my guess for most of you, your child was born abroad and now is in India on e-visa, so then this will be no. Refugee will be no as well. And surrendered your Indian passport. So since your child was born abroad and never had an Indian passport, you can just select not applicable here. If you're doing this for yourself as an adult who was an ex-Indian national, then if you've surrendered your passport, you can select yes, otherwise select no. And again, if you never had an Indian passport before, you can just select not applicable. Then here under visa type, you'll select the visa you're trying to convert. So you're currently on e-visa, so select that. and then subtype is e-tourist visa. Then here on the right, you will select the visa that you want to convert to. So we want to convert to entry visa, so you'll select that. And subtype will be X1 because this is the one that applies to dependent children or spouses of people of Indian origin or Indian citizens. Then you hit submit, then it will give you a pop-up showing you the documents required to be submitted later. So you just click submit for now and we'll come back to the documents and you'll be moved to the next page. And this is your main application form. So now the form is pretty straightforward. You'll need to provide the applicant's details here, the one who is applying to convert their e-visa into XVisa. So if you're doing this for your child, then they become the applicant. So provide all their details here. If you're doing this for yourself as an adult or even your spouse who might be applying to convert their e-visa to XVisa, then they become the applicant. So provide those details here. So here you start filling out the applicant's last name, first name, gender, parent's name, spouse name. Doesn't apply for the child, only applies for married people. Then date of birth, place of birth, city and country of birth, wherever they were born, Canada, USA, Australia. Then height, religion, birthmarks. This is all like the e-visa main application form that you might have done before. So it's very similar. Then current nationality. So this is the country you are currently a citizen of. And then previous nationality. If you don't have any previous nationality that you gave up, or say this is for your child who was born abroad, then there is no previous nationality. Just leave this at select. Then manner of acquiring present nationality. So say the applicant is Canadian. So this is asking whether the applicant was Canadian by birth or they became Canadian later by applying for citizenship, which is also called as naturalization. For example, if you're doing this for your child who was born in Canada, then they have no other nationality. So you will select by birth because they became citizen of Canada by birth. Then date acquiring nationality. So for children born outside, this will just be the date of birth. So no need to enter. But if you applied for citizenship for your current nationality, then you enter the date that you became a citizen of that country. It should be on your citizenship certificate. Then dual nationality, answer accordingly. If you hold multiple, then yes, else no. And then whether person of Indian origin. So this has to be a yes because it's a requirement for this conversion process. We already covered this earlier in the video. For XVisa, you have to be a person of Indian origin. And then category is others. Then address of last residence outside India. So this is the address in your citizenship country, meaning your address in Canada, US, whatever your current country of citizenship is. Then this is your address and telephone in India where you are currently staying. Then email, profession, passport details of the applicant, pretty straightforward. Then current visa details. So the applicant is currently on e-visa. So you can put down the e-visa details here. For visa number, this is the ETA number which is mentioned on your e-visa. So you can look up the e-visa on the approval email. It should look something like this and it should be under ETA. Then country and place of issue, you can mention India here. And then issue date, expiry date is all mentioned on your e-visa document. Then valid for, so for most people, this will be multiple entry because you got the multiple entry e-visa when you applied for it. But to be sure, again, you can look in the e-visa document that you were issued under number of entries. Then under arrival details, so here you enter details about where and how you initially came to India on your e-visa. So for example, if you flew from Toronto airport, the place of boarding for India is YYZ or Pearson Airport, city is Toronto and country is Canada. Then date of arrival is when you landed in India. And then place where you landed is the New Delhi, Mumbai airport, wherever you landed in India. And then mode is by air. Under purpose of visit, you can select meeting friends or relatives here. Then have you registered previously in India? So if this is the first time you are doing this process, then you don't have any registration. Then details of family members if accompanying. So now if you're applying for visa conversion for your child and your child obviously came with you to India, then you select yes and add the child's mom and dad's details here. So for example, if I'm applying for my son who obviously flew with us from Canada to India, then I'll add my details and my wife's details here. Then are you registered in the current locality eFRRO or eFRRO in the current visit? So if you're applying for your infant, just hit no. Now if you're doing this for yourself as an adult or for your spouse, then you must have registered with the eFRRO or the local police station when you came to India. You're legally required to register with the eFRRO within 14 days of your entry, and they must have given you a registration number. So you can just enter that here. In case you missed registering yourself with the eFRRO, that's fine too. Just select no here And you can actually use this service, eFRRO portal. When you're applying for your visa conversion, you can also select the registration option, which we saw earlier. But remember to register with the FRRO if you are doing this for yourself or your spouse as an adult. Then conversion type. So you're applying for visa conversion from e-visa to entry visa. So you can select multiple entry here and required for a period of, you can select 1 year here, that's fine. Then under reason for conversion, you can mention your specific reason. For example, if I were to do this for my son who was an infant at the time, I would just put something like extending stay for infant. If you're doing this for yourself as an adult or for your spouse, then provide that specific reason here. And that completes your form. Then you enter this code and you hit save and continue. So on the next page, it will ask you to upload your documents. Here's a list of mandatory documents that you will be required to upload. First one is the applicant's photo. So here are the instructions for the photo. Has to be a JPEG, should be less than or equal to 1 megabytes, front facing, white background, pretty standard requirements. So now for photo, if you still have the digital image that you got when you did your e-visa application, you can use that image here because the requirements are pretty similar. But in case you don't have that digital image, then you can always go to a photo studio in India, show them the instructions and get a new digital image for the applicant. So to upload, you first select this photo option from the document type drop-down list, then choose file, select the image and then click on upload file to bring up the image preview page. Once the preview shows up, you can use this rectangular selection tool to resize the image and position it front and center. And then once satisfied, you click on crop and save and you'll return to the document upload screen. The next step is proof of your address or residence proof. And here are your options. Updated Form C generated by hotel or lodge, or registered or notarized lease deed, or utility bill copy along with a copy of photo ID of landlord with declaration. So now most of you will have a home address in India, either under your spouse name or your parents' name, and then they must be receiving electricity or water bills on a regular basis. So you can attach a copy of home ownership papers which are under your family member's name, as well as the electricity bill copy. And you can also add a declaration statement from them acknowledging the fact that you will be staying with them. And if you're renting in India, say you're living in a flat or an apartment or just renting out a single room, you must have a copy of your lease so you can get it notarized through a government office, and then you can attach a copy of that lease along with a declaration statement from your landlord acknowledging that you are their tenant and they have no issues with you staying in India, and a copy of their passport or Aadhaar card. Now usually this much documentation for address proof should be enough, but sometimes some FRRO offices also ask your host or your family member wherever you're staying to fill out a Form C and submit that. So here's a link where you can find Form C. I'll leave it below in the description. You simply register your account here and fill up this simple form with your host's details and address where you'll be staying. And you can just attach that along with all the other documents that we discussed. Once you have all your residence proof documents ready, you will have to combine them into a single PDF, and then you also might need to compress them to a size that is acceptable by this portal. It won't accept anything greater than 1 megabyte. So it's pretty easy to compress and combine PDF. Just Google compress PDF and merge PDF. You'll get a bunch of links. Simply upload your PDF documents and it will combine them for you. It will compress them to a smaller size. As long as they are legible, readable, you can just upload that single PDF here. Then next up is visa. So this is where you upload a copy of your current e-visa that you obtained to come to India. So this is your e-visa document. You should have this in your email. So just attach the PDF of that here. Then you select passport from the list, and here is where you upload the scan of your main passport page. So now we just covered the generic categories of documents that are required for every applicant. So these you will have to upload. These are mandatory. But there are some additional documents that you should also think of uploading since they can help your case. For example, if you're applying for your child's visa conversion, then the FRRO at some point might ask you to provide additional documents such as the child's birth certificate that was issued by the country where they were born. Additionally, for your child's application, they might also ask you to upload the marriage certificate of you with your partner, meaning the marriage certificate of the child's parents. Then they can also ask to upload the passport copies or Aadhaar card copies of the parents of the applicant. And you can use this other category to upload any additional documents that you feel are necessary. like the ones that we just talked about. It might save you the hassle later. Once you submit the application, you'll be directed to a payment gateway where you'll be able to make the payment using your credit or debit card. Should cost around 10,000 Indian rupees. I don't know the exact number, but it should be around 10k INR. Once you submit, you'll get a confirmation email of application submission, and then you wait. Then your application gets transferred to the eFRRO office of your city if you live in one of those major cities where there are eFRRO offices located. If your city or state doesn't have an eFRRO office, then your application might get transferred to the head eFRRO office that is in charge of your jurisdiction. For example, according to this 2021 document published by the Ministry of Home Affairs, these are 12 eFRRO offices in major cities in India. So say you live in Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh. For all these states, your application will likely be processed in eFRRO Delhi. If you live in Mumbai, Indore, Bhopal, any of these states, then your application will likely be processed in eFRRO Mumbai. This is 2021 data, so these could be different now, but you get the idea. Then the eFRRO office will begin processing your file, and they'll check the completeness of your forms and documents. If they feel they need more information, they could always reach out to you via email. For example, there is a section here for re-upload missing documents. They might just ask you to upload any additional documents that they require here. You can also check the progress of your application under this status inquiry tab, by the way. Now, during the processing, if it's an adult applicant, they usually contact the local police station for some sort of background and address verification checks. If it's a foreign spouse that is applying, they might even ask you to come in for an interview and provide more documents to prove your relationship and do additional checks. It has happened, so be prepared for that. For infants, they don't usually go that far, but it's possible. So normally, if everything goes smooth, XVisa processing should take about 5 to 6 weeks. But again, depending on the additional documents required, the background checks, the proof of relationship, if you're asked to come in for an interview, or just delays in the processing from their side, it could even take longer. So you need to be prepared for that. So I would recommend make sure you apply well before your 180 days of eVisa are about to expire, just to account for the processing delays. Don't worry, you will get the XVisa eventually. Everyone gets it, but it's just a matter of how frustrating or easygoing your experience is. And there are 50-50 chances it could go either way. Once complete, you'll most likely receive your XVisa in your email, and then your eVisa will become invalidated. And then you can continue to stay in India longer without having to exit India and come back. Usually, they give you a 1-year XVisa with a maximum stay allowed for 180 days. But it could be more, it could be less, depending on the discretion of the officer. Usually, it's for longer, so you don't have to worry too much about it. But just make sure you read your XVisa document very carefully, specifically these two things: the validity period of your XVisa, as well as the maximum continuous stay allowed in 1 calendar year. So now you've done the conversion application to XVisa and you're waiting for your XVisa, but you realize that you're coming up close on your 180-day period of your eVisa. So now what if you go past your 180 days, but your XVisa has still not come through? It can happen because of processing delays on their part or problems with your application, any number of reasons. Maybe you just applied for conversion very close to the 180-day mark, and that's why you just didn't give them enough time to process the XVisa application. So whatever the reason of the delay might be, the question is, can you continue to stay in India after your 180 days when your XVisa has not come through? So the answer is yes, you can stay in India. You don't have to leave India because you're considered to be on applied status. As long as you have submitted the conversion application before the 180-day period of your eVisa, meaning as long as you submit the conversion application while you're still on valid status, once you go outside the 180-day period, you can still continue to stay in India because you've already submitted the application, so you're considered to be on applied status. And that grants you legal status in India and you can continue to stay there. So on the off chance that you happen to be in this situation, don't panic. Just make sure that you inform your eFRRO office about your situation. And they'll normally be accepting of that because they deal with these kinds of applications all the time. They might give you some more formalities to do, some more documents to provide, or they might just issue you a stay permit, or they might just fast track your XVisa conversion application so that you don't have to be on applied status for long. So you got your XVisa and then you stayed on your XVisa. But now, even that is coming close on its expiry, whatever number of continuous days were allowed in your initial XVisa. So now if you want to further extend your stay in India, you have two options. Number one, on XVisa, as long as you've stayed for 6 months continuously in India, then you become eligible to apply for OCI from India. Remember, you could not apply for OCI on eVisa, but on XVisa, you can apply for OCI as long as you've stayed in India for a period of 6 months continuously. But let's say you don't want to apply for OCI from India at this point, but want to extend your stay in India, then you can just apply to extend your XVisa or entry visa. So let's look at both those options in brief. So number one is XVisa extension. So to apply for that, you simply head back to the eFRRO portal, and here under services desired, you'll choose visa extension instead of the conversion. You already did the conversion to XVisa, so now you're simply extending it. Then down here, you select entry visa under visa type and X1 under subtype, just like before. And then from these three questions, this one will apply. The applicant is a foreign national seeking visa extension as a spouse or dependent of person of Indian origin or OCI card holder, because this is what makes you eligible for XVisa. Then you hit submit, and then here are the documents that you're required to submit. Then you fill out this form. It's very similar to the conversion form that we looked at earlier. And this extension application will usually cost around 6,000 to 8,000 INR. It's a rather quick process. It takes about 10 to 15 days to come through. And once you have the extension, then obviously you can continue to stay on that extension visa. And you can actually keep extending this XVisa annually for up to 5 years. So again, another advantage of applying for XVisa. Now, if you want to stay in India even longer, then XVisa might not be the good option to continue. Because yes, it does grant you status in India, you can stay in India, but it severely limits your abilities in other aspects, such as it doesn't allow you to work for any employer or start a business. Yes, you can convert your XVisa to employment visa to work, but that comes with even more application, documentation, and it's a hassle that frankly you as an individual who has ties to a person of Indian origin shouldn't have to endure. So just apply for OCI instead in that case. OCI will immediately give you almost all the benefits of a citizen, and then you can work for any employer or start a business, and you don't have to worry about any further applications for immigration down the line. You're set with the OCI. So just to reiterate, if you want to apply for OCI from India, then you cannot do that on eVisa. You'll have to first convert it to XVisa, and then you have to stay for 6 months at least continuously in India. Then you become an ordinary resident of India, and that's when you become eligible to apply for OCI from India. So now to apply for OCI, you do it through the OCI services website. So I'll link this website below. I won't get into the details of this process, otherwise this video is going to get super long. I've actually made a full video on OCI application for minor from Canada. So you can watch that video for reference. Yes, there will be some differences between the OCI application abroad versus from India, but most of the process will be similar in terms of the forms and documents required. You'll just have to do this at the eFRRO mission. So you'll have to select the eFRRO mission when you fill out the form, as opposed to BLS if you were doing this from outside India. Otherwise, the rest of the process is the same two-step process. Number one is the online application where you fill your form and upload your documents and then complete the registration. And then step two would be the physical submission of your documents at the eFRRO office. So you'll need to book an appointment with the eFRRO office. So again, here is the list of the eFRRO offices in India and their mailing address and contact information. So this is where you send your physical documents once you are done with the online part. So whatever is the eFRRO office for your jurisdiction, you find their contact details, and then you can either call them or email them, letting them know that you've completed the online application, you have your registration number ready, and then you're looking for an appointment for your OCI. And then they will let you know the documents required, the fees, and the appointment dates available. And again, it should take about 2 to 3 months for them to complete the processing if everything goes smooth, and assuming you're lucky. And then you can get your OCI card delivered to you in the mail. By the way, if you're in the process of applying for an OCI for your minor child, then there is a good chance some of you might be struggling with preparing the digital image and the thumb impression for upload in the OCI portal. So here's a video where I break it down technically so that you don't have to break down mentally. I'll see you there.